When David Cameron, Britain's Foreign Secretary, was asked about South Africa's case against Israel at the International Court of Justice, he responded that the UK opposed it.
I agree with the South Africans that Israel has a case to answer before the International Court of Justice.
No, I absolutely don't. I think the South African action is wrong. I think it's unhelpful. I think it shouldn't be happening.
Was that surprising? Hardly. Cameron is the descendant of Arthur Balfour, author of the colonial project in Palestine and of its ongoing tragedy, its continuing Nakba, the ethnic cleansing and dispossession of its people. Of course, Britain is no longer the dominant power in the Middle East. Pax Britannica has made way for Pax Americana, which is why Cameron and John Kirby, the White House spokesperson, pretty much repeated the same words when asked about South Africa's case. Both are in fact fully complicit in the genocide on trial at The Hague. The US took over the UK's former role in full, supplying the weapons, ammunition and political cover, effectively enabling the elimination of the local Palestinian population. Which is also why a group of South African lawyers have announced their intention to sue them both for complicity in the Gazan genocide. Both the US and Israel share the same genes. Both are settler colonialisms founded on the ethnic cleansing of indigenous populations. Ironically, Germany has declared it would join Israel's team against South Africa. Now, that would be funny if it weren't so sickening. Germany is trying to atone for the sins of the Holocaust by enabling another genocide, aiding and abetting its victims to commit a genocide against their own victims. Unfortunately for Germany, its ludicrous moral grandstanding provoked Namibia to remind it of its bleak history. You see, in 1884, Germany invaded Namibia and founded the German Southwest Africa colony. Between 1904 and 1908, more than 80% of the Herero and 50% of the Nama populations of Namibia were exterminated, either shot dead after rebelling against the seizure of their lands by the Germans, or placed in concentration camps where they perished of thirst and hunger. So this is Israel's defense team. On the opposite side, standing up for Palestine, we find South Africa, which experienced the monstrosities of apartheid at the hands of the descendants of European settlers. Prominent among South Africa's brilliant team is the Irish barrister Blinny Raleigh. She caught everyone's attention with her eloquent, poignant presentation on the catastrophic situation in Gaza, and Ireland is now considering joining South Africa officially. It is therefore no coincidence that South Africa and Ireland are standing with Palestine. All three have one key thing in common: all were colonized by the British. Thankfully for Ireland, South Africa, and indeed much of the world, colonialism is part of its painful past. It is sadly Palestine's present. You see, we read about colonialism and apartheid in history books and library archives, but in Palestine we see it. We see its horrors broadcast live to us in real time, on our TV screens and social media news feeds. What the world thought it had left behind in its shameful dark past is on full display in 21st century Palestine, in all its ugly inhumanity and shocking brutality. In Palestine is found Europe's last colonial outpost, a throwback to the 19th century, a colonial reality imposed in a post-colonial age. And that is the problem for Israel and its allies. They're seeking to implement an exclusivist, settler, colonial project into a world that has simply moved on, a world that no longer accepts colonialism and takes it for granted, a world which measures civility, modernity, morality by the extent of one's endorsement of the principles of freedom, self-determination, equal human rights, international law, which is why Palestine today is the test of genuine commitment to these great universal values. Palestine is the world's moral test, and unfortunately, many are failing at this test abysmally.